Hi, I'm Catherine Tatnall, Youth Service Librarian here at the New Ulm Public Library. I'd like to share some books with you, and the first one I want to share with you is called The Power of Yet. It is about how important it is for us to teach the kids that we work with, that we live with, and that we love, that things don't always happen right away. Sometimes you have to wait. Sometimes you have to make mistakes. You know that bike you want the training wheels off of? Sometimes it's going to be a little bit yet before you are ready to ride it without falling down. So there's going to be falls, and there's going to be scraped knees, and some days someone's going to tell you no, not yet. Just waiting. Keep your determination. Keep going. Keep steady. Keep learning, and you're going to get there. It's so important for school readiness. Boy, there's been studies done that tell parents about children and how when they get to school, it's all about their growth mindset. They are totally ready to experience everything. And by the time they're in third grade, only 50% of those kids are still within that growth mindset, still ready to learn, still hungry, still able to accept a little bit of failure. And so the power of yet is so important for us to teach our kids. So I hope you'll pick up this book. It is by Marianne Coca Leffler, and it's here in the children's department right now. The second book I want to talk about is by a St. Paul author. It is called The Secret of Dread Willow Karse, and it is by Brian Farry. It was written in 2016, but it's a wonderful adventure fantasy about a monarchy, and this monarchy is 1,000 years old. And not once in 1,000 years has anybody felt pain. Has anybody been unhappy? Has anybody felt sorrow or fear or anger? 1,000 years ago, there was a terrible war, and the king made a pact with the architect so that his kingdom would be peaceful and prosperous. And every monarchy that came into power after this king had one duty, and that was to protect the peace and the prosperity of this land. And they could never, ever, ever go into the dread Willow Karse. Now, Karse is a bog, and it was in the middle of this glorious place where people sang and they danced all the time because they were always happy. And yet, 1,000 years later, one young princess dares to go into the Karse and figure out why she's not supposed to. This is a great book. It's good for middle schoolers. It's good for a little older elementary school or a family read. It's a wonderful book. And the third book I want to talk to you about is a young adult book. And I want to let you know Tonight We Rule the World by Zach Smedley is an amazing book. It's incredibly intense, and I need to warn you right up front that it is about sexual assault. It does have a very toxic relationship in it, and there's a lot of gaslighting going on in this book. It was so hard for me to read, and I could not stop reading it. I'm in the middle of Barnes & Noble's having a pumpkin spice latte, and I just wanted to throw the book across the room and stand up and scream. That's how intense this book is. But the characters are wonderfully drawn. And you learn so much about the young man who is the protagonist of this story. His relationship with his father is so broken, and yet at the same time, you watch his dad as he moves through this coming to understand his son has been sexually assaulted on a school trip. And you get to see these glimpses of how much he absolutely cares for his son and wants the best for him. And so it's about this young man's relationship with this young woman, and this young man's relationship with his father, and the fact that their lives parallel at some point, and that at some point they come together and they heal with one another, not separately. It's an amazing book. I hope that you will take a look at all three, come in and visit us, and if you need a book recommendation, always reading, always happy to point you in the right direction. Thanks for listening.
Hello everyone, I'm Leroy Harris, the Programming and Technology Services Librarian here at the New Ulm Public Library, and I want to share with you a few books that I read recently that I think you might enjoy. For our younger readers, if you're interested in classic fantasy, the series Adventurers Wanted by M.O. Foreman is really great. This is the first book, Slathbog's Gold. So if you're tired of all of the anti-heroes and the dark and the gritty, this just makes you feel nice and cheerful. My 8-year-old son enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it too. Next, in a completely different vein, is Gail Carriger's Finishing School series. This is the first book, Etiquette and Espionage. So Victorian steampunk spies with vampires and werewolves. So all sorts of things, but it's really funny. The dialogue is great, it's very entertaining, and if you're a fan of any sort of Victorian romance or anything like that, you'll love the dialogue as well as all of the cultural references too. Last, I've got a nonfiction one for you. We read this in our history book club a couple months ago. This is by Douglas Preston. Now, you may know him from his series with Lincoln Child. Preston and Childs have several adventure action thriller series. But what you might not know is Douglas Preston is also a National Geographic explorer, travels all over the world, writes articles on many different topics. And this tells the story of how he was involved in the finding and exploration of a lost city in the Honduran rainforest and everything that happened in their expedition. I won't give anything away other than they all caught this really funky tropical disease and almost died, so that was pretty cool. But those are just a few of the things I've been reading. We have a lot of other great books in our collection, and we hope to see you at the library.
Hi, my name is April Eide. I'm the library director at New Ulm Public Library, and I'd like to share some recommendations with you of books that I've enjoyed recently. The first one that I'll share is The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman. This is the fourth in the Practical Magic series by her. You might remember that was a movie way back in the day starring Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. And this book is the fourth in that series and finishes out the story. So in this book, you're revisiting the Owens family who has been cursed by their ancestor Maria Owens, who was almost drowned as a witch by the man she thought she loved, and she thought loved her in return. But that betrayal really stung, and so she decided to curse anyone in her family who fell in love to try and protect everyone from love after that. And so this last book in the series is all about how her ancestors, including characters like Franny and Jet and Sally, all try to break that curse, including Sally's daughters, who become the center of the story. I really liked this book. I think it was a great conclusion to the series, really focused on the characters that you've come to know and love if you've read these books before. So if you have read the series, go ahead and finish it out with this one, or go ahead and pick up Practical Magic and start the series. The next book I wanted to share is Carnival of Snackery by David Sedaris. I don't know if any of you have read David Sedaris before, but he is a very funny essayist. He's been writing for a long time. He's on NPR and The New Yorker. He writes essays, and a lot of them focus on his experiences and his family. He's from a family of 6 siblings, and so they all make appearances, as well as his father, and then his boyfriend Hugh too. And so this Carnival of Snackery collection is his diaries from 2003 to 2020, so including parts of the pandemic, which was kind of interesting to hear his perspective about it. He's really funny. He finds the humor in so many strange things. He has met so many people during his book talks throughout the country and throughout the world, and so just his take on everything was really fun. And this is a great one for people who like short chapters too. So that's a Carnival of Snackery by David Sedaris. This is also a really good one to pick up on audiobook. Tracy Ullman reads some of the essays, and then he reads some of the other ones. Any of his books are great on audiobook. They're so funny, and it's great to hear his stories read in his own voice. Then the last book I'll share with you is Several People Are Typing by Calvin Kasulki. This book is about Gerald, who works for a PR firm, and he gets trapped in his company's Slack channel. And some of you may not have worked with Slack before. It's kind of an inter-office platform for collaborative work online. And so his consciousness gets stuck in Slack and he can't make it into the office. His boss doesn't really care as long as he's productive. But Gerald ends up meeting the Slack bot, and the Slack bot is gathering information on all of his coworkers and kind of spitting it back to Gerald in weird ways. And you have to figure out why the Slack bot is doing this and if Gerald can get out of the Slack channel. It was just a really goofy, odd book that surprised me, and I really liked it. It's told all through Slack chats, so you're seeing instant messages between Gerald and his coworkers in different odd groups, and private messages between people who shouldn't be having private messages at work. So this is a fun, light read, a good one to check out when you're just looking for something to occupy you for a few hours. So again, if you have any requests that you'd like to make, or if you want to check out any of these books at the library, give us a call at 507-359-8331. We'd be happy to place those requests for you over the phone, or if you want to stop by the service desk, we can help you as well, or find you some other books that meet what you're looking for. Thank you.